To inject extra energy and texture to the scene, I splashed some more green and blue paint, trying not to get too carried away. Hi, I'm wildlife and nature artist Shelly Perkins, and in this episode of Nature Studio TV, I'm here in the stunning Yosemite National Park in the USA. I've just created this double-page sketchbook spread of the iconic Sentinel Rock on Plein using watercolor. Let me walk you through the process. I began by choosing a suitable spot with a great view, and here I was looking across the Merced River and Cook's Meadow at the huge Sentinel Rock. With a pencil, I lightly sketched the key landscape features, roughly placing the rocks, river and trees in big loose shapes with no details yet, with just enough pencil marks to guide my brushstrokes. I used my paintbrush to apply water to the sky area, leaving some dry areas for clouds, and then added some watery blue patches. The lovely pigment spread across the damp paper, and I helped it along with water on my brush, gently softening the transitions between blue sky and white cloud. Next, I painted a greyish yellow colour on the rock faces, where the rising morning sun was catching the shimmery granite. I used up what I had left of that colour in the river and trees, and then I used a blue colour to start painting the shadowy areas on the rocks. With the tip of my brush, I applied that colour around the tree shapes, leaving gaps to the paper, using that blue in the shadows to the rock face to create vertical lines representing the linear character of the granite rock formations. I then introduced a purple colour where I wanted to build more depth in the darker areas, and use this colour to make suggestions of trunks on the trees. I used a more dilute purple on the nearest rock, again working in straight vertical brushstrokes, fading off to the left so as to give the composition focus on the right. Now, with the blue-green colour, I use the tip of my brush to feel my way through the vegetation in the trees, taking care not to create big blocks of colour. Using the side of my brush, I added some of that green colour to the river, and then continued to build the suggestion of vegetation in the other trees towards the right-hand side. Then I mixed a more yellow-green, applying this to everywhere I could see this brighter colour, and added some more of the blue-green to the fir trees. With a more blue colour, I added shadows around the bases of the trees and under the willow in the foreground, spreading this lovely colour into the river. I mixed more of a pea green and used this to paint grasses in the foreground with the tip of my brush, then worked it onto the meadow on the opposite side of the river and into the willow. I continued to build up the green areas, varying the hue, and then used a fresh turquoise colour to bring out the lovely colour of the river. At this stage, I wanted to start building up the lines some more, so using my waterproof fine liner, I began adding in penwork. I didn't want to create solid outlines, but rather to complement the watercolour paint and pick out a few details. Here, I was moving around the composition almost in a clockwise way, keeping my marks quick and gestural. When I reached the large tree in the foreground on the left, I used a continuous line drawing technique to explore the foliage with the nib of my pen. Going back to my paintbrush, I now wanted to increase the colour intensity and began adding little blocks of blue and yellow, moving across the page to add in little shapes of colour where I was seeing them. As the morning sun continued to rise, the shadows grew darker, so I darkened the shadow area some more to match the contrast levels. I added a purple colour to the river to create more depth, and applied this to the rock. There was still some yellow in my palette, so I used this up in the foreground tree with loose marks. To inject extra energy and texture to the scene, I splashed some more green and blue paint, trying not to get too carried away. After some final hue adjustments to add a touch more turquoise and blue-green, this fresh morning scene depicting river, meadow and rock was complete. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. A full-length class showing you everything you need to paint your own Sentinel Rock scene is available now with Nature Studio membership, where members have been getting fantastic results. Thanks so much for watching.
Have you taken my free full-length watercolour class yet? If not, you're in for a treat. In it, I guide you step by step through painting a juicy, realistic pear that'll make you think, wow, I did that. You'll learn a repeatable, reliable watercolour method that you can go on to use for painting all kinds of other subjects. I'm confident you'll discover something that I already know, that you're a better artist than you think. I teach everything about my watercolour method in this full-length class, and I'm sharing it with you for free because I want to show you what you can achieve with the right instruction. If it ignites a spark in you, just as it has for thousands of others who've taken this class, there are hundreds more detailed tutorials you can unlock if you choose to become a Nature Studio member. So get the free class now and get ready to wow yourself with your results.